The silent girl with silver eyes. The marketplace was loud, dirty, and full of strange smells. Traders shouted, machines hissed, and old engines rattled in the background. But in the middle of the noise, one small figure stood still, too still. She was a girl, maybe 13 or 14. Her skin was pale, with a hint of violet. Her long hair looked like threads of dark silver, but her most striking feature was her eyes. Bright silver, not blinking. Just watching. She stood beside a thick alien man with a mean face and yellow teeth, her stepfather. He gripped her arm tight, like she was a broken tool he wanted to throw away. This one? He shouted to the crowd, pulling her forward. Useless. Can't speak, can't clean, can't work. Maybe someone wants her for scrap, or pleasure, or pain. The crowd laughed. The girl didn't move. A human man leaned on a broken fence nearby watching. His clothes were dusty, worn from space travel and scavenging. His name was Jace. He had seen many awful things in his life, but the way this man treated the girl made something twist in his chest. She mute? Jace asked, stepping closer. The stepfather grinned. Mute? More like cursed. She's been silent for years, not a word. Not a sound, no use to me. Jace looked at the girl. She didn't look back, just kept her silver eyes on the dirt. But there was something in her stillness, not fear, not shame. Something else. I'll take her, Jace said. The crowd quieted. The stepfather blinked, confused. What? He said, laughing. You serious? You want this one? Take her. For free, just don't bring her back. He shoved the girl forward. She stumbled, almost fell, but caught herself. Jace didn't touch her. He just nodded and turned around. Come on, he said softly. She followed, silent. They walked through the outer rings of the market, then into the Badlands, where old ships lay rotting and rust turned everything red. Jace led her into his small hideout, made from broken cargo pods. Inside was a small heater, a bed, and some food packs. Sit, he said. She did. He gave her water. She drank slowly, eyes never leaving his face. You got a name? He asked. No answer. I'm Jace, he added, trying again. I fix things, find old parts, trade for food. You don't have to talk, but you're safe now, understand? She gave the smallest nod. He heated a food pack and placed it in front of her. She stared at it, then at him. Slowly, she picked it up and began to eat. Later, when she fell asleep curled up in the corner, Jace looked at her for a long time. There were no marks on her body, no signs of damage, but something about her was broken. Not her voice. Her heart. That night, while stars blinked outside, Jace heard something, a whisper, faint. Soft. He sat up fast. The girl was awake, sitting across the room, watching him. Her silver eyes were glowing faintly in the dark. Safe? She whispered. Jace. Froze. What did you say? Her lips trembled. Safe? Jace slowly nodded. Yes, you're safe here. She didn't speak again. Just pulled the blanket tighter around herself and closed her eyes. Jace didn't sleep for a long time. That one word had shaken him, not just because she spoke, but because of the way she said it. As if she didn't believe safety was real. As if she had never known what it felt like. And yet somehow, in this tiny shelter, with a tired human scavenger, she had taken the risk to ask. Just one word, but it meant everything. And in the quiet darkness, something began to change, not just for her, but for both of them, because Jace didn't know yet. She had a voice that could kill. And she had chosen him to hear it. The morning was quiet. Too quiet for a place like the Badlands. Jace sat by the heater, turning a broken transmitter in his hands. The girl, still wrapped in the same blanket from last night, sat across from him, wide awake but still silent. She hadn't said another word since that soft whisper. Safe? He wasn't sure if it was real or just a dream. He cleared his throat. You remember talking last night? She gave a small nod, almost shy, like she wasn't sure if it was allowed. You don't have to talk, he said gently. Not if it hurts. Not if you're scared. She blinked, then looked down. Her fingers clutched the blanket tighter. Jace sighed and went back to work. He didn't press her. He knew trauma. He had seen what war did to people. Sometimes the deepest pain made people go silent for years. But her silence, it wasn't empty. It was full. Full of something he couldn't name. Later that day, Jace left the shelter to dig through a wrecked shuttle a few clicks away. He gave her a small knife and pointed at the door. Don't open for anyone but me, he said. If you feel danger, hide. Understand? She nodded. When Jace was gone, the girl stood up slowly. She moved through the small shelter like she was exploring a new world. She touched the soft pillow, the edge of the heater. The photo of Jace and someone else, a woman with red hair. Probably long gone, she whispered. Family? It was soft, like air moving through feathers. She turned when she heard something outside. A shadow passed the window. Her silver eyes narrowed. 3 men. Not human. Sharp teeth, dirty armor and guns. One of them banged on the door. Hey human, he shouted. We know you got something good in there. Hand it over. She froze. Another bang. We saw him take that silver-eyed freak from the market. We want her. They kicked the door. She backed away slowly. Her hands shook, holding the knife. One more bang and the lock cracked. The door swung open. The girl stood there. The men stopped. They weren't expecting her to be standing tall. One of them laughed. You're a pretty little thing, aren't you? Don't worry, we'll treat you. She spoke, just one word. Stop. It was not loud, but it hit them like a hammer. The first man's eyes rolled back. Blood dripped from his nose. The second dropped to his knees, shaking, hands over his ears. The third turned and ran screaming. She fell to the ground, breathing hard, sweat on her forehead. Her nose bled. Her voice had power, but it hurt her too. Jac returned minutes later. He found her on the floor, holding her head. 2 bodies lay nearby, unconscious. One man was still twitching. The other wasn't moving. Jace rushed to her. What happened? She looked up at him. I tried not to, but he helped her sit up. You're okay now, it's okay. Her voice cracked. I didn't want to hurt them. I just wanted them to stop. Jace stared at her in silence. He finally understood. Her voice wasn't just unusual. It was a weapon. He looked at the broken door, then at her pale face. You've done this before, haven't you? He asked. She nodded, tears in her eyes. That's why you stayed quiet all those years. She nodded again. Jace gently wiped the blood from her face. You weren't mute, he whispered. You were protecting everyone from your voice. Even the bad ones. She didn't say anything else. She was exhausted. He wrapped her in the blanket again. You need rest, he said. You're safe here, even from your own power. That night she didn't sleep much. Neither did Jace. He sat beside her, watching the stars through a crack in the ceiling. What kind of world turns a child into a weapon? What kind of monsters would use that weapon for war? And why did she speak? Only to him? He didn't know yet, but others would come, and next time, they wouldn't knock first. Jace kept the bodies covered with a torn sheet. He didn't want her to see them again. She was too quiet that morning, not the normal kind of quiet, but a heavy kind. She sat in the corner of the shelter, legs pulled to her chest, silver eyes blank like a mirror with no light. Jace placed a small plate of food beside her. She didn't touch it. You saved yourself, he said gently. They were going to hurt you. You did the right thing. She didn't reply. He sat across from her and waited. He didn't ask questions, didn't force her to speak. He had learned one thing: when she wanted to talk, she would. And when she did, it would never be normal. Outside, the red wind howled over the scrap fields. Somewhere in the distance, something metal exploded, maybe a fuel cell or a forgotten drone. The Badlands were full of dangerous secrets. So was the girl. Her name still remained unspoken. Jace had started calling her Silver in his head, though he never said it out loud. That night, she finally whispered again. I was born in a soundless place. Jace looked up. Her eyes were glowing faintly in the dark. They made us sing. She continued, when we were babies, they trained our voices. Not for music, not for love, for killing. Jace stayed still. Listening, they called us choirs. Not children, choirs of war. Her voice was soft, but cold like winter dust. It sent chills down Jace's back. My stepfather bought me from the lab when I was 5. He thought he could control it. He was wrong. She looked up at him. I tried to tell him. My voice hurts people. But he kept testing it. Using it. Until I hurt his brother. And then you stopped speaking, Jace said softly. She nodded. I made a promise to myself. No one else would hear my voice again. But you broke that promise, he said. For you, she replied. You didn't look at me like I was poison, Jace swallowed hard. You're not poison, she gave a bitter smile. No, I'm worse. My voice kills. Jace shook his head. You stopped those men yesterday. You didn't kill them because you wanted to. You just wanted peace. She looked away. But peace doesn't last. And she was right. The next day, while Jace was salvaging wires from a collapsed shuttle, he noticed a shadow move across the sand ridge nearby. Not local scavengers, not bandits. These moved too smooth. Too clean. Military. He cursed under his breath and ran back to the shelter. When he arrived, she was standing outside. I heard them, she said. They're close. Jace grabbed his gear. We have to move. But it was too late. Drones buzzed overhead, dropping light flares around them. A voice boomed from a hovering speaker. Attention, unknown humanoid with classified audio abilities. Surrender peacefully. You will not be harmed. She gripped Jace's arm tightly. They came for me. They know what I am. Jace whispered. Then they're going to learn who I am too. He tossed her a pair of goggles. Stay behind me. Don't use your voice unless you have to. The sand exploded beside them as a warning shot hit the ground. Jace fired back with his plasma pistol, hitting one of the drones, but soldiers dropped in fast dark suits. Faces hidden by smooth black helmets, they fired stun rounds. One hit Jace in the leg. He dropped to the ground. Teeth clenched in pain. The girl stood still. One of the soldiers pointed at her. Target located. She closed her eyes. Jace screamed, No! But it was too late. She opened her mouth. The sound that came wasn't a scream, it was a frequency. Like shattered glass mixed with thunder. The air around her shimmered. The ground cracked. The soldiers dropped their weapons, falling to their knees, bleeding from ears and eyes. Jace covered his ears, but even then, he felt the pressure inside. His chest, and then silence. She collapsed. Jace crawled to her, shaking. Her lips were pale. Blood dripped from her nose again. I didn't mean to go that loud, she whispered weakly. I just wanted you safe. He held her in his arms. We're trying to protect me. Even when it hurt you, she nodded. I always break something. Every time. Not this time, Jace whispered. You didn't break me. She looked up at him, her silver eyes dim. Then maybe I can speak again. And for the first time, she smiled, just a little, but Jace could tell. That smile was louder than her scream. Asterisk, the sun had not yet risen when Jace carried her to the far end of the canyon, where old communication towers leaned like broken teeth in the ground. He had wrapped her in a blanket and tied scraps of metal around his arms like armor. His legs still ached from the stun shot, but he didn't care. She was breathing, but barely. They hid inside an old tunnel below a collapsed tower. It smelled like rust and old fuel, but it was safe for now. He placed her gently on a mat of cloth and sat beside her. She looked so fragile. Thin arms, pale skin. Lips cracked from too much power leaving her body. Jace checked her pulse again. Steady but weak. "Rest," he whispered. "You saved us." He didn't sleep. His eyes stayed on the entrance. His mind kept racing. Who were those soldiers? Why did they know about her? And how long until they came again? Later that day, she opened her eyes. Her voice was faint. "They're not soldiers," she said. "They're collectors." Jace leaned. "In collectors? They take people like me, not to jail. Not to protect, to use." Her hand shook as she pointed to a small burn mark on her wrist. "A brand. They call us singers, weapons that kill with sound. They erase our names, our memories, everything." Jace looked at the brand. His stomach turned. "They did this too. Children? To anyone born with the voice. Why didn't they keep you? They tried, but I escaped when I was young. That's when he found me my stepfather. He bought me from a smuggler, thinking I could make him rich." Jace clenched his jaw. "He should have protected you." She gave a broken laugh. "He only protected himself." Jace sat beside her. "I don't care what they called you. You're not a weapon, you're just a girl." She looked at him. "No one's ever said that to me." "Then it's about time someone did." They stayed quiet for a while. Outside, the wind shifted. Metal creaked above them. Something in the air had changed. Then came the hum. It wasn't loud, but it made the walls vibrate. Jace knew the sound. "High-altitude scanners. They found us," she whispered. "JSC." He grabbed his gear. "We run. Now." "No," she said. "They'll catch us in the open." "I'll slow them down." "You're too weak," Jace argued. "Not with your help." He hesitated. "What do you need?" She reached into her jacket and pulled out a small device, an old recorder. "They made me use this in the labs, to store my voice." Jace looked at it. "It still works?" "Yes, but only for one use." She held it out to him. "If I fall asleep and don't wake up, use this. Play it when they come close. It will protect you." Jace took it carefully. It was warm, not from heat but from energy. Her energy. "I'm not leaving you behind." He said, "You may not have a choice." That night, they didn't run. They waited. Footsteps echoed through the canyon. Boots, quiet, practiced, deadly. Red lights glowed from scanners. Voices in alien languages passed by the tunnel. And then a voice in perfect common. "Hand over the singer. You will not be harmed." Jace stepped out slowly, hands raised, the recorder hidden in his palm. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said. A tall figure walked closer, no helmet. Pale blue skin, cold eyes. "You know exactly what I mean. The girl. She's not a person. She's property. She belongs to us." Jace stared at him. "She's not a thing." "She's not your weapon. She's not yours. She's dangerous. She's more human than any of you." The collector's face didn't change. "You think we want her for violence?" "No, we want her for balance. When one voice rises, another must answer. If we don't take her, others will." Jace frowned. "What does that mean?" "She is not the only one." Before Jace could speak, again, a flash grenade exploded behind him. He dropped to his knees, coughing. The recorder hit the ground. A faint red light blinked. Then it played. Not a scream, not a song. A soft hum, like a lullaby sung in a dying world. The soldiers froze. One clutched his chest. Another dropped his weapon and began crying. The leader staggered back, mouth open, blood dripping. Jace shielded his ears and rushed back inside. She was sitting up barely. Her eyes met his. "You used it?" she asked. He nodded. She smiled again. "Good, that was my voice. For you." He caught her before she fell again. She didn't speak for the rest of the night, but her voice still echoed. Around them, Not as a weapon, but as a warning they would come again, and next time. They might not ask. Jace stared into the fire as it crackled low inside the cave. The flickering light made shadows dance across the rough stone walls, but his eyes didn't move. He was thinking, planning. They couldn't keep running. Every scanner in the sector was now tuned to the sound of her voice. She slept nearby, her head resting on a bundle of cloth. Her breathing was shallow but steady. After the last incident, she hadn't spoken at all. Not because she was afraid, but because she knew what would happen if she did. Jace turned on a small tablet, an old thing that barely connected. He typed a message into a private channel, one he hadn't used in years. Need a ship, 1 seat, no questions. I'll trade anything. Urgent. The reply came quickly. Meet at drop point 7. Bring your ghost. No tricks, Jace sighed. The message didn't sound friendly. But it was their only chance. He looked over at her sleeping form. She needed a way off this planet. Somewhere far from labs, bounty hunters, or anyone who saw her as a weapon. By dawn, they were moving again. He wrapped her in a warm jacket, and she leaned against him as they walked through old mining paths. She hadn't asked where they were going. She trusted him now completely. You sure about this? She finally whispered. Jace looked at her. No, but it's our only shot. Drop point 7 was an abandoned refueling site hidden inside a crater. A single ship sat there, its engines cold, but lights blinking. 2 figures stood by it, one tall and armored, the other slim and wrapped in a gray cloak. The tall one stepped forward. You brought her? Jace nodded. I need her. Off-world, somewhere safe. And what do you offer? Everything I've got. Weapons, credits, schematics, even my own ship if you want it. The man chuckled. You really care about this one, huh? Jace said nothing. The man stepped aside. Bring her. As Jace helped her forward, the cloaked figure lifted there. Who? It was her stepfather. Alive. Smiling. Double quotes. Did you miss me, little ghost? He sneered. Her breath caught. Jace froze. The tall man stepped behind Jace and pressed a weapon to his back. You sold me, she whispered to her stepfather. You said I was useless. I said you were expensive, he corrected. I knew someone would find a use for your little voice. And now you've made headlines. Look at you, famous. Jace clenched his fists. You set us up, the stepfather smirked. I sent the collectors your location days ago. But they failed, so now I'll sell her myself to someone with deeper pockets. The girl stepped back, but the cloak moved fast. Her stepfather grabbed her arm. Let go of her. Jace shouted. But the man behind him slammed the weapon into his head. Jace hit the ground, dazed. The stepfather dragged her toward the ship. You'll fetch a fine price now. No more hiding. No more silence. She looked at him, eyes cold. You're not afraid of my voice anymore? He leaned in close. You won't use it. Not here. Not now. You're too tired. Too weak. She looked past him to Jace, struggling to stand. Then she smiled. Just a little. You're wrong. She whispered. The stepfather's grin faded. What? She opened her mouth and let out a breath. Not a word. Just a note. Soft. Rising. The walls around the crater began to shake. The ship's lights flickered. The tall man screamed, dropping his weapon and covering his ears. The stepfather tried to run, but the sound pushed him to his knees. Jace covered his ears, but his eyes stayed open. He watched her. She stood tall, her silver eyes glowing, her voice shaking the sky. Then silence. The crater was still. The 2 men lay motionless, and she dropped to the ground. Jace rushed to her, heart pounding. Hey, stay with me. She opened her eyes slowly. Sorry. Had to use it. You saved me again, he whispered. She gave a small nod. He won't hurt me anymore. Jace held her tightly. Never again. Above them, the ships. Systems blinked back to life. It was still working. Jay stood and carried her inside. He placed her gently in the passenger seat and began activating the controls. "Where are we going?" she asked weakly. "Somewhere you don't have to sing to survive," he said. The engines roared to life, and as the ship rose from the crater, flames trailing behind it, the girl closed her eyes. This time, not from fear, but peace. Soared through the black skies like a silver arrow, leaving the cursed world behind. Inside, Jace sat at the controls, eyes scanning the stars ahead. He hadn't flown a craft this old in years, but it still obeyed his hands like a loyal animal. He glanced to his right. She was asleep, finally, in the co-pilot's seat. Wrapped in a blanket, her body small, fragile, her lips barely moving with each breath. But her face was calm for once, calm. No nightmares, no shaking hands. Just rest. Jace didn't know how long it would last. He only knew they had to keep going. They were heading toward the drift zone, a lawless region between sectors. No patrols. No collectors. Just old satellites, broken ships, and silence. A place where someone could disappear, but safety didn't. Come easy. An hour later, the ship's alarm blinked red. Tracking beacon detected. Jace cursed. Her stepfather must have planted it when he touched her jacket. They'd been followed. She woke up to the sound. "What is it?" "Bad news," he sighed. "We've got company." 3 dark ships dropped out of warp, sleek, black, and shaped like knives. No markings. No ID. Just death. One ship hailed them. A cold voice came through the comms. "Turn off your engines. Hand over the girl, or we slice your vessel open and take her piece by piece." She sat up slowly. Her silver eyes flashed. Jace reached for the controls. "Ignore them. We're running." But the enemy ships moved faster than he expected. One shot tore through their left wing. The ship spun. Lights flickered. Systems screamed. "We're hit." He shouted, "Brace!" The ship smashed into a broken freighter drifting nearby. Metal screamed against metal. Sparks flew. Everything went dark. When Jace opened his eyes, smoke filled the cabin. The power was gone. Panels blinked weakly. He coughed, pulled himself up, and looked around. "Are you hurt?" he asked her. She shook her head, but her hands trembled. "They'll come inside." "They'll try," Jace muttered, grabbing a plasma cutter. He kicked open the side hatch. The wrecked freighter was hollow, its walls cracked, old oxygen tanks floating in zero gravity. It was the perfect place for a last stand. Then footsteps. 3 soldiers in black armor marched into the wreck, guns drawn, helmets scanning. Pointed at her. "She's unconscious," one of them said. "She's weak." "Grab her," another ordered. But Jace stepped forward, gun raised. "You want her? Come through me." They laughed. The first fired. Jace dodged, returning fire, hitting one in the shoulder. But he was outnumbered. One soldier got behind him and slammed a metal rod into his back. Jace fell hard, groaning, blood dripping from his mouth. She watched it all. She didn't blink, didn't cry. She stood up and spoke. A single word. "Enough." Her voice wasn't loud, but the metal groaned. The walls bent inward. The floor cracked beneath their boots. The air vibrated like thunder trapped in a bottle. The first soldier screamed as his helmet shattered. His ears bled. He dropped, lifeless. The second tried to fire, but the gun exploded in his hands. The third turned to run, but the corridor warped around him, trapping him in bending steel. Jace looked up, barely able to lift his head. She stood in the middle of the wreck, eyes glowing like twin moons, her hair floating like smoke. Her voice continued, not words, but a tone, ancient and pure. It wasn't hate. It wasn't rage. It was power. Uncontrolled, unforgiving, steel twisted like paper. Screws flew from the walls. The enemy ship docked outside began to shake, its engines sparking. Then everything stopped. Silence. The soldiers were gone. The ship was cracked open like an egg. She collapsed beside Jace. He pulled her close, his arms shaking. "You saved us again," he whispered. "No," she murmured. "This time I destroyed." "No," Jace said firmly. "You destroyed them, not yourself." "I don't want to be a storm anymore," she whispered. "I want to be a girl again." "You already are," Jace said. She closed her eyes. "Promise me. If I ever lose control, if my voice turns into something dark." He placed a hand on her chest. "I won't let you become that," he said. "But I won't let anyone take you either. Ever again," she smiled weakly. "I trust you." The broken ship drifted slowly through space, but inside, Jace held her like something precious, not because she was powerful, but because she had finally stopped running. And this time, maybe, they both could find peace. The ship floated quietly in the shadow of a broken moon. It was damaged but holding together. Inside, the lights flickered softly, casting a warm glow over the metal walls. There were no alarms, no voices, no enemies, only the soft hum of power. Trying to stay alive, Alira lay on a thin mattress in the back of the ship. Her body was weak. Too much power had left her during the last attack. Her skin looked paler than before, and even her silver eyes were duller now. But she was awake. Jace sat beside her, his hands wrapped in bandages. He hadn't slept in 2 days. He refused to leave her side. "Still breathing?" he asked, forcing a smile. She gave a small nod. "Barely." "You've done enough," he said. "No more running, no more fighting." "But they'll never stop," she replied. "They'll keep coming. They always do." Jace looked out the window at the stars. "Then we give them a reason to stop." Alira turned her head toward him. "How?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached into his coat and pulled out a small case, a memory chip, old and half-burned. "What's that?" "Something I kept hidden a long time," he said. "Before I met you, I was a technician. I used to build message pods. One-way broadcasts. I've got one left." She stared at the chip. "A message?" "Yeah," he nodded. "Your voice. Not the deadly one, the real one, the one you used with me." Alira blinked. What would it say? Jace smiled softly. "That you're not a weapon. That you're not a ghost. That your name is Alira, and you deserve to live. That if anyone out there wants to silence you, they'll have to hear your story first." Alira hesitated. Then, slowly she sat up. "Then let's do it." Jace helped her reach the control panel. He activated the pod and attached the chip. "It only broadcasts once, then it burns itself." "I only need one time," she whispered. He pressed record. And for the first time in her life, Alira spoke freely, not a weapon, not in fear, just her truth. "My name is Alira. I was born to silence. Not because I wanted it, but because the world feared my voice. They tried to erase me, to use me, to sell me, but I'm not theirs. I'm not made for war. I'm not a monster. I am just a girl, and I want to live." Jace ended the recording. Then they watched the message pod launch into space, spinning like a star, carrying her words across the galaxy. "Do you think someone will hear it?" she asked. "Someone always listens," Jace said. She smiled. Her smile faded quickly. Her breathing slowed. Jace turned to her. "Alira?" She looked at him. "I'm so tired, Jace." "I know. Just hold on." "I don't think I can." He pulled her close. "Then rest. Just rest." Her voice, barely a whisper, touched his ear. "If I go, will you remember me?" "I'll remember everything," he said. "Your voice, your silence, your courage." She placed her hand on his chest. "Thank you for seeing me. Not what they made me, just me." Then her hand dropped, and the light in her eyes went out. Jace sat there for a long time, holding her in his arms. The stars outside didn't move. The ship drifted in silence, but her words They moved faster than light, across space. Her message echoed to stations, to colonies, to planets. People heard the voice of a girl who had once been called a weapon, and they listened. Some cried, some shouted in anger, but all remembered her name. Lyra, the girl with silver eyes who sang not to destroy, but to be heard. Months passed, then a year. Jace disappeared from the maps. Some said he built a garden on a moon where only silence grew. Some said he carried her voice inside a crystal around his neck, but the truth was simpler. He carried her in his heart. And every night, when the stars blinked above him, he looked up and whispered, "I'm still listening." And somewhere in the great dark, maybe her voice whispered back,